Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Muck MIRE podcast. I am Brandon Furey here with Mr. Keith Glock. Glock, how you doing?
I'm good, Fury. How you doing, man? I'm excited about this.
I am absolutely thrilled. Been thinking about this all week. I'm ready to get started.
Awesome. Well, listen, I'm happy that we could. When you came to me with this last week, I feel like we've kind of thrown this together pretty quickly, and I think that's really a credit to you. I mean, we talked about it one night, and by the middle of the next afternoon, we were kind of up and rolling and making plans for what we were going to do. So I will continue to shamelessly plug it on the air. You can find this in Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, Spotify. We're waiting on Pandora, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll try to make sure that we get not only this podcast on every Monday, it'll drop, and I'll throw up all the other full interviews there as well. But this is your show, as what we wanted it to be. So what can the listeners expect out of not only this episode, but the Muck MIRE podcast?
Yeah, so you can expect a deep dive into Montgomery basketball, recapping the games from the prior week, and get an interview hopefully every week. Today, we are very thankful to be joined by Ryan Curry, so please stay tuned for that. And we will also preview next week's games and finally have Bring the Furey, bringing it back from this football season, which is my favorite plays from the week. And we're thrilled. We're absolutely thrilled. Thank you for listening, however you may be listening. And so let's get into it. So we started the week on Tuesday. Phillipsburg came to Montgomery, and
Thursday.
we got it.
Don't get behind ourselves already, Fury. It was Thursday.
Was it Thursday? It was Thursday. I'm thinking already ahead, but
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday we had Phillipsburg 68-43 win. Curry, Robayo, and Prescott led the way. Curry had 19, Robayo had 17, and Prescott had 15. I kind of saw a slow start, which you can attribute to many things: empty gym, shorter off season, and just first game jitters. But then we really saw, I think, the potential of this basketball team when things started to click. It was not even a matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to overthink any of this, too. As we look back on that stuff, like the slow start, whatever. I mean, like it's basketball, it's athletics. People, in my opinion, too often view like, oh my goodness, Montgomery was not. They didn't play very well in the first half. Like, there's another team playing at the same time. Like it's not only about what you're doing. It's there are other people also trying to win the game. So it was probably a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got a 6'9" big man who this is high school. You know what I mean? Like he'll play a 4 or maybe even a 3 in college. In high school, somebody with that skill level who's that big, I mean, let's not overcomplicate things. That can cure a lot of problems, even when you're starting slow.
And you can combine that with just the shooting we saw. That it came from everywhere. We saw, obviously, we don't have to get that deep into Ryan Curry. We've seen him for now 2 years now. We know what he has to offer. But then JT Szymborski expanding his role from last year, now a starter. It comes with a lot, but knocking down threes from everywhere in both games, which we'll get into Bordentown in just a little bit. But also Josh Moore off the bench. He was unbelievable. Gave some great minutes. Just everybody flying around on defense, leading to transition and really great shooting.
Yeah, I mean, if Szymborski is able to improve, by a couple of notches as the season goes on, I think that really could be the biggest key to this? Because I mean, everybody knows what they're getting with Curry and Rubio and Prescott, right? I mean, like that's, and it's not. I'm not trying to say that Szymborski is going to be a more impactful scorer than any of those three guys, but other teams know what we know, right? So I don't know how many guys you can create a special plan for at any one given time before somebody else is standing there wide open. And if Szymborski becomes the guy that, can be that consistent, guy that knocks down the extra pass, that's, I don't know how you defend that when you have three guys as talented as our top three are. So to me, JT could be the key for the season. And Josh Moore, to what you had said, he provides something I think that Montgomery hasn't had in at least a couple of years, which is that, person to come in and handle the basketball when Curry's not in the game, or even when Curry is in the game and you just need him to, rest a little bit while still on the floor. I think we're spoiled, Brand. I mean, you play varsity athletics, you understand, nobody in the booth or watching on the internet cares that you're tired, and they don't know how tired you are. All they want to know is that, like, are you still dribbling the ball and not getting it stolen from you, or are you still blocking the defensive end? Like, they don't care that you're tired, but it just looks like Curry's never tired. So
yeah, well, I mean, that just shows how hard this group trains and works out in the summer, and we'll get into that later, definitely, with Ryan Curry, their off season. Again, please stay tuned for that. Very excited for it. So let's transition a little bit to Friday, which was a 64-36, another dominating win against Bordentown. This, although, was a little opposite in terms of hot start. It looked like it was going to be ugly. I know you guys were saying this could be a 95-point game for us. Slowed down a little bit in the second, maybe took the foot off the gas, or again, there's another team on the floor, right? I mean, they're playing basketball too. They're trying to win the game too. So, but again, Curry and Rubio, unbelievable. Prescott played a great game as well. Curry had 22, Rubio had 13, and Prescott had 10. That's the third straight game dating back to March 5th of 2020. Completely different world back then, but third straight game, all three in double figures. If we can keep this going and having three guys, it doesn't have to be those three, but having three guys in general in double figures, this team's going to be unstoppable.
Well, I mean, if I had said that to you, right now, if I say, all right, we have 13, 15 games left in this season, and in every single game, those three guys are going to score double figures, would you be like, that would sound very impressive, but would you be really, really shocked by that? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. I don't think I'd be that shocked to see these three keep evolving, and they all kind of, if you watch it, and they're all playing off each other, right? Curry drive, now he can dump off, or he can kick for a three to Prescott, and dump off, obviously I meant to Rubio, or Curry can take it himself, and that sort of triple threat is really unstoppable. And it's different when maybe you have two star point guards that want to do the same thing, and then the big man, or two big men and one star point guard. But having it at all three levels really, really can just kill opponents.
Yeah, the distribution of talent over multiple positions. Coach Grundy and I talked about it in the pregame show on Friday. Just how fortunate you are there that, it's not like Russell Westbrook and James Harden on the same team where there's one basketball and they want to dominate, both want to dominate the ball. But I think to bring it full circle to what you had said, as you introduced the Bordentown game, like, oh, was it that they took their foot off the gas, whatever. I think that reason is why I wouldn't be surprised if all three of them scored double figures in every game, because you saw in that game that the reason why Bordentown got back into it is because the pace and the tempo is like Montgomery just stopped playing at that pace. And they, you know, whether that was Montgomery just being lulled into playing more in the half court, or they just decided to slow down a little bit, or just situationally it happened that way. But ultimately, I think you saw when they run, when they press, when they employ that matchup zone and that trap. I mean, boy, it's like the points come fast and
It's a lot to
furious.
handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just also, I think the biggest piece to that is how Noah Vlasic can impact the game defensively. Maybe there's going to be a time when maybe we're not getting it from Matt. Maybe we're not getting it from Curry or Rubio. And a guy like Noah Vlasic on the defensive end can impact the game. And that's where Curry gets running. And we saw that. And when Curry's running and they're all running, like you said, it's an unstoppable team.
And they haven't gotten very much out of Noah on the offensive side yet either. And it's not that he's incapable. It's just it hasn't gone that way yet. So, you know, in my opinion, you've put up nearly 70 in the first two games of the season. I didn't think you played particularly well for the duration of the game in either game. And, you know, now granted, you have a little less time to figure that out, you know, because it's not the length of the season isn't what it used to be. But to me, that just bodes well. You know, you're going to get better, right? I mean, hopefully this team is too well coached to not get better as the season goes on.
And the key minutes again from Josh Moore and JT Szymborski to kind of take some of that pressure off the you can probably call it the big three for now. Having that other element, the shooting from other guys, it can carry a game. Talk about how JT Szymborski flipped the script in the Phillipsburg game. We were not that. Don't get it confused. That we were losing that game for a good chunk of the first quarter, and then all of a sudden JT Szymborski hits a couple threes, and now it's a 20-point game. We look up.
I think it's a combination of two things. Number one, the coaching staff to instill in those guys, like, look, you're not just here to be a good looking chess piece. You know what I mean? That comes out here and distributes the basketball until it finds itself in the hands of one of the big three, as you called them. Like, you are out here because we know that that's the kind of player that you can be. So we need you to shoot. We need you to score, you know. So when you're 15, 16 years old, you know, I think that can be a heady thing. You know what I mean? You really need to be a certain kind of personality. So that's where I think it's the combination of not only the coaches telling him that, but you have to be a mentality to take that information, internalize it, and then go, okay, I believe what they are saying. I'm going to shoot when I'm open. And it's very clear to me that JT has been a very coachable guy, even dating all the way back to last year. He has never shied away from taking a big shot in a big moment. And to specifically answer your question about Phillipsburg on Thursday, he hit two humongous 3-pointers, you know, didn't even bat an eye. You know what I mean? It was that kid looks like he is just calm as the day is long. And, you know, he might put up 40 or he might put up 6 and he's going to look exactly the same, you know, and that, to me, that kind of consistency, that's not, it's not an everyday thing. I think that's a rare skill set.
And that like level-headed mentality, that's key when, you know, you might get down by 15, but you also might be up by 15 and your mentality has to be the same. It's the same thing, like whether he's scoring 40 or 6. Like, if we're winning, we're 2-0, right? Though the points will come. And you don't see anybody on this team playing selfishly. They're all level-headed, playing together, playing for each other. And I was very impressed by that in both games.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, to put it in a football analogy, because we're still at the end of the NFL season here. How many times do you see a team? You know, some teams are really good playing from behind. It seems like the Chiefs can play any way they want. In front, behind, doesn't really matter. But some teams are just better from behind, but they can't really seem to play with a lead because either the coaching staff gets conservative and you play, that prevent defense prevents you from winning and all that. I mean, geez, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. I don't know how many leads we have to blow of 20 points or more, including the Super Bowl, before you realize like maybe we should change it up here. And instead of playing conservatively, let's just keep playing. But, like you said, this team feels like, they can be comfortable doing it in either direction just because the talent level dictates that if they want to push the pace and push the tempo, that's going to be difficult for other teams to deal with.
No doubt. I really just one more piece to that. If we can get Arian Gordy going, that I think can be a huge piece, because as dominant as Rubio is inside, if you can allow him to space the floor and then have that presence inside, because you lose Linez from last year.
Yep.
And he pulled down some rebounds. So if you can insert Gordy there, that can really open things up as well.
Yeah, Gordy's a guy that, I mean, clearly you have to take one look at him to realize how important he could be, how impactful he could be. Again, to bring in a 6'9" player off the bench, there's not that many teams that have that kind of luxury in high school athletics. But to me, watching Gordy is like, he needs to just figure out where he is in terms of getting himself under control, because like at times it looks like he's that guy with all this potential that like just is either going 1,000 miles an hour or is one half second away from processing something fast enough to then react, and he's still trying to find that middle ground where he's under control when he needs to be and hits the accelerator when he needs to. And I think when he finds that balance, he is going to be a really, really impactful player. And I don't even mean scoring the basketball, because that's what everybody looks to for, how many points did he have? Like, I don't even want on this team Gordy to be an impactful point scorer, because that means something else is going wrong. Like, I just want him to be where he needs to be to pull down that rebound that you were talking about, to be the backside help defender who comes over if Rubio, runs out on a shooter because of just the nature of that matchup zone that they play. And then now whoever drives into the lane has to deal with another huge body, and if Gordy can put that all together and be where he needs to be when he needs to be there and under control, watch out.
Because that can kind of wear down an opponent when, all right, you get by Rubio, but then, there's another one right there that you have to shoot over, right? That can wear down an opponent.
Oh, I mean, well, you watch the NBA enough, right? Steph Curry has changed the way that basketball is played, right? I mean, metrics of a three-pointer have told everybody that we'd rather you shoot threes than twos unless they're layups. So you're trying to shoot a three, Rubio runs out. So now you pump fake and drive into the lane. So we're, by proxy looking for a layup. And now 6'9" is standing in front of you. So now maybe you have to pull up from the foul line. Just from a pure analytics standpoint. I think that wears on you, that you don't really want to drive into the lane. You have to stop at the foul line and take an elbow jumper before, I think you're right on the money, Bren.
So we're going to transition here before we get into that interview with, again, point guard Ryan Curry. So stay tuned for that. Surprise of the week for me is going to have to be Matt Prescott. He looks like a completely different person. Yeah, that says it all. Just the ability that now he can kind of be a more physical presence on offense and defense. Now that can change a lot of things. The scouting report was, okay, get up in his face and then don't let him shoot. But now he can blow by you and be physical in the lane. Like that can be kind of scary.
For the podcast only listeners, I was flexing there, which nobody wants to see ever. That's what Furey was referring to. But yeah, no, you make a great point. I mean, just the we had joked about it. What Sarah Samad has done with with those guys over the summer working on strength and conditioning is no joke. So even though we joke about it, it is no joke. He has remade his body, but I think he has kept that same very calm mentality. He's another one, maybe kind of like Szymborski, that it doesn't look like his pulse ever gets, above 85, and no matter what, whether he's dribbling, playing defense, shooting the basketball, it all just looks like it flows together. And, now, I mean, dude, you play one of the most physical positions in all of sports. If you're stronger than the other guy, that's pretty much where it's at. No, that's it.
That work he put in, unbelievable. Kind of an honorable mention to that sort of surprise of the week. Josh Moore, again, unbelievable player, and he's got a bright future. Kind of going to segue into just some other takeaways from this week. I saw a fast team. When we're fast, we're unstoppable.
Agree. Play fast, play up tempo, run the trap, and I think you have success. I don't even know that we need to talk all that much crazy more about it, because I think that it's that simple. And with that, obviously the coaching staff becomes important, because knowing when you have opportunities to give those guys rest, whether it's in game or end of game, so that you can save them for what's coming. But again, we have such a luxury at Montgomery with the coaching staff. Like, decisions related to coaching are not a thing that we have ever had to worry about for the last decade and a half, because it seems like Coach Grundy and Coach Mullars and Coach Bassford are very in tune to what's going on, and they just push all the right buttons. So I don't even, it's not even something I worry about.
Yeah. And finally, not a surprise at all. Rubaio's a beast and a problem on both sides of the ball. Just unbelievable what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, looks every bit the Patriot League player that he is committed to be. At Lafayette. I think we've seen, just comparing his play from a season ago and 2 seasons ago to what it is now, just his assertiveness in the paint, he's getting to the spots where he wants to be, rather than him trying to get where he wants to be and being moved by somebody else. I think that's certainly a skill set that he has developed. And he's just gotten stronger and savvier. I mean, there's a shock, right? The kid has grown up over 4 years,
Yeah.
But I mean, I really think that that's what it is. And quite frankly, I would be real nervous if he wasn't doing that. You know what I mean? Because that's really what he should be doing. And right now, and that's tough for Chris, right? I mean, like, what kind of expectation level are we setting for him? We're like, oh yeah, bro, yeah, he's just dominant, but he should be dominant. Like,
15,
that's almost
15,
unfair.
15, 10, couple blocks every game. It's just what we expect now.
But you know what? I mean, unfair or not, what I say to that is, heavy lies the crown, man. If you're a Division I basketball player and you're almost 6'10", you should be dominating in high school. And I'm just happy he's on our team, because he is dominating.
He's doing it. I mean, he's putting up 15, 10, and 3 or 4 or 5 blocks. I mean, he's doing it. So we'll get into Bring the Furey. That's coming up next. And still to come, we have the interview with Ryan Curry, Montgomery's star point guard. So stay tuned for that. Curry splits the double, athletic left-hand layup, and the and one finish. Speaking of another and one finish, Chris Rubaio throwing it down from Ryan Curry. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bring the Furey. We are now going to bring in Montgomery's star point guard, Ryan Curry, for the Muck and Mire's first ever interview. Ryan Curry is now joining us for the first ever Muck and Mire podcast. First interview. Ryan, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So, we wanted to start with asking you how different things have been with, we know obviously the team works very hard in the summer, putting a lot of time in, early mornings and everything like that. How being at Van Horn and not being just in the comfort of, your own gym, how has that impacted you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the summer was cut in half. It wasn't the whole summer where we start. We don't have Princeton team camp. We don't have St. Joe's. We have to watch the weather at night. We have to watch weather in the morning. We wake up at 6 in the morning, see there's rain at 7 o'clock, so we try to go earlier to get it in. I mean, just a bunch of crazy stuff. It's 90 degrees one day, and it's just been a whole change that no one was expecting, but we all do. We all kind of stuck together. So we went to Van Horn like every 3 days, stayed for Coach Grundy's camp sometimes. So, I mean, it was still that family feel, family summer environment. It was just a little different that we were in a gym, but we were at a park, and it kind of felt good because it felt like a little more of a grind.
That kind of led into where I was going to go next. How, like, that can almost in a way be harder for you guys and, dealing with things that you never had to deal with ever, just being in
Definitely.
a whole new element.
Yeah, definitely. Usually we're in a nice air-conditioned gym, but now we're at 90 degrees doing Coach Grundy's workouts. And if you ever pass the gym, you see Coach Grundy's workouts aren't too easy. So we've definitely had some people sitting out, laying down during things, including myself one time. A lot of people throwing up, and it was an interesting year.
So it definitely got you guys ready for this oddly shortened season with a couple of rule changes. Um, no playoffs, I think, is the biggest thing to start with as any athlete at any level. The thing you're playing for is now not there. How does that sort of change the mentality? Because what are you playing for,
Yeah, I mean, we played 2 games and we only have 13 remaining. I mean, it's kind of like we know our end, and we kind of just playing for each other every day. Coach says it's just us because, as you guys probably know, we're not going to school, we're quarantined, not seeing anybody. So, I mean, it really just brings this family together kind of more than ever. It's literally just us. We hang out together on the weekends. We play basketball every day together, talk to each other, get in the game together. It's just really us, and it sucks that it's shortened, but we're just super excited that we have something. So
Yeah.
better than nothing.
So in that, I know you and I have, talked about like off the air, um, how in basketball it's, the longer season you can get away with one here or there, and like in football, you lose one or two, and that's really it. Like now you're fighting to win out, and
Def-
like you said, the 15-game season, like that's a short season.
Definitely. My freshman year, I remember we lost at home to Ridge, and the team kind of had, well, we were ranked at that time, I think number like 24, 25 in the state, and we had time to bounce back. We had time to regroup. We had time to do this and this and that. But this year we really don't. There's really no room for error. We just got to keep going because we have a nice like 3 game at the end of the year for like a Skyline Conference championship, and those rankings are based on these games, and we can move down so we can play not the better teams and the worst teams. So we really have no room for error at all. So we just gotta keep grinding, stay together, and don't lose games.
So going back to the first game of the week, Phillipsburg, big second half from you. What was going on in the first half? Only scoring 5. But then second half you come out and you put 14 and really just open the whole game wide open.
Coach said I had a pretty good halftime speech, called me out, says, "I need you to be that guy." So that kind of really woke me up. He said I was getting to the paint at ease, at will. So I really thought about that. And in the second half, I realized how much holes were opening up when I was getting into the lane. So I realized I could have the drive and kick wide open. And once that started going, which it did to Matt Prescott, he started to get going. So it made everything a little easier. I could either dump off for bio or take it myself. So I feel like once Matt started hitting shots, everything started opening up because I feel like I was getting to the lane at will. And I feel like a game started to come together with all five of us firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and that's another thing I know you and I have talked about a lot, just you being aggressive. We've all seen the highlight passes, and we know you're an unselfish basketball player, but when's that, almost like clock in your head where I know there's no shot clock in high school, but when's the time where you're like, okay, I got to go now?
I feel like I was watching the Mire back actually after the Bordentown game, and Mr. Glock and Mr. Bartholomew were talking about someone needs to stop a run right now. And I feel like whenever the game's getting close or we're playing bad, I feel like if someone's got to step up, and I feel like that's most of the times me or Chris or Matt. So I feel like whenever the game's kind of slowing down and we're not dictating our own tempo, someone's got to step up and get a bucket for us.
Pogue's going to be mad at you that you just confused Bartholomew with him, but because that was all a Pogue point. But I recall thinking that I was happy you brought that up just now. That like it certainly felt watching that game that we felt like with that 3-pointer on the far side of the gym there that you just had kind of kicked it into overdrive. Do you consciously feel that out on the court? Because like then it seemed like the play right after that, you almost came up with a steal, and then that actually led to a steal with them throwing it away, and it ended in an easy bucket. Like momentum just like woof off the table from there. Are you consciously thinking that in the moment?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in the Phillipsburg game, I know it's a little off topic, but in the Phillipsburg game when we had him where we wanted him, I was telling everyone, smell that blood, smell that blood. I mean, when we have that chance to put him away, I'm usually up and screaming, up and super hyped because I don't want to play around with these teams necessarily. We have to get done, don't keep it close. So I feel like me hitting that 3 was big because that provided energy. The bench got loud. The bench was super important for us since it's an own gym or empty gym. So once I heard the bench going crazy, I'm like, all right, this is the time to put him away. And then when I went for that steal, I thought I had it, didn't have it. And then Matt Prescott, I think, or Josh Moore got the next one. And then I think we got an easy layup to Josh, and that really just started picking it up from there.
How has it been playing with Josh Moore as a freshman? Because, what feels like not too long ago, you were kind of that spark plug freshman on a very, very, very good team. How is it playing with Josh?
It's great. He's going to be really, really good. He's a ball player. He's a little bit on the quiet side, but Phillipsburg, I finally got to see that he has it in him. He has that dog in him. He missed a 3, and I heard him definitely, and he was getting ready. And then the next play, I told him we got him, pick it up, like we'll pick him up. And the next play hits a huge 3 for us. So I mean, he has that killer instinct in him. He wants to be good. He wants this badly, and it was a big shock because I saw him being quiet the first practices, but in the game he's a totally different person, and he has that mindset that he wants to do good.
That sort of mindset can definitely, I feel like, spark up the entire team, just especially as a younger player. As an older guy, you kind of see that, and that'll definitely rise your level of play, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we see a younger kid that might not know what family's all about because he just got in without the whole summer, but when we see he's as dived in as he is, what we saw against Phillipsburg, it's really feels good for us that we have that guy that we can always rely on.
So to transition a little bit here, speaking of when we were maybe coming up as an 8th grader, a ninth grader, there's been a fraternity of great point guards at Montgomery. Um, what are you modeling your game after anyone in particular? Because the list goes on. Or are you kind of just picking from all of them?
I
And
mean, I learned from all of them. I remember in 8th grade, I knew Chase Talbot, I didn't know him really well, but like 8th grade, I saw him at an open gym. He pulled me aside and said, "It's kind of my time coming up. Be ready." Matt Remsen stopped into the gym, was telling me whenever a point guard comes in, they always pull me aside and give me pointers. But Riley Green is a huge help for me. He's been mentoring me for a while. Same with like Joel Cohen my freshman year, but Riley, I work out with him almost every day in the summer still. He's still a huge part of me. So, I mean, I kind of take advice from everyone, but I'd say I'm not on the game after myself. I feel like I differ in a lot of areas, but I always take that advice from everybody.
yeah, and how does that all of them like pulling you aside, what does that speak to about family and what that means to you?
Yeah, I mean, I was completely took by surprise that Chase Tolick knew me in 8th grade. I mean, he was the kid I watched. I watched him growing up like all the time, and I thought he was like the best player ever with all the things he did. Because I came to like every game when I was younger. So I mean, to him pull me aside, like my first open gym coming to 8th grade, it was like, wow, like family really does never graduate.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Ryan. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we can sit down and do this again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Montgomery's star junior point guard, Ryan Curry. And to preview next week, finally, we got Ridge, fingers crossed, on Tuesday. And then we come back home and we have Bridgewater. Um, Two teams that kind of like a Phillipsburg, like, I don't care if you're up, they're not going to quit. And if you're down, don't expect them to let you back into it.
Mother Nature's frozen tears are may affect our schedule for this week. We just got. I have no clue as we tape this on Sunday whether we're going to be able to play on Tuesday or not. Because we just found out that we're going to be all fully virtual Monday and Tuesday. Which, by the way, is there a better thing? Like, you want to talk about positives that have come out of the pandemic, that we might never have a snow day ever again? Because I hate the cold, hate it. I want to be off Memorial Day weekend, baby. Give me 6 days every year, Memorial Day. Let's go. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's no doubt. So yeah, definitely fingers crossed for that. And just as we wrap up here, I gotta ask you, this is gonna be the next time we're shooting this, probably 3 hours away from the Super Bowl. Who you have?
Oh, well, see, this is a tough topic for me because last year we did like a 7 or 8 minute Super Bowl picks thing, and I had like this big theory lined up that, and actually this wasn't last year. This was the Patriots Rams Super Bowl, and I thought I had a great take on it, and like I was like, the Rams are going to win by 2 touchdowns, and that just clearly fell on its face. I have to admit my bias because, as I said, I'm a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan more than any human being in New Jersey should be. So I hate the Bucks, and clearly I have a ton of respect for Tom Brady, because if you don't have respect for Tom Brady, then you're an idiot. But I dislike what happened in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I certainly am rooting very hard for the Chiefs. And luckily, I think that they have probably the savviest play designer, maybe, in the history of football, in Andy Reid as a head coach. And they have a guy that maybe before long, and maybe sooner than everybody thinks, we might be talking about as the best quarterback to ever play football.
Oh yeah.
If he wins the Super Bowl this year for back-to-back years, so the guy has played 3 seasons as a starter, throws 50 touchdowns, wins the MVP, doesn't go to the Super Bowl because a defensive end has his pinky lined up in the neutral zone on a play where Tom Brady throws an interception.
Yeah.
But and then the Patriots get the ball back and get to win the game in overtime. where, by the way, Patrick Mahomes didn't even touch the ball in overtime.
Yeah.
So, that was just a coin flip luck. Then he goes back and wins the Super Bowl in year 2, has him back in the Super Bowl in year 3, and really only lost one game all season because he was, taking a vacation in week 16 or week 17 because they had already everything sewed up. So, he wins this one,
you take down Brady.
Look out.
Yeah. I mean, I quite frankly don't think it's going to be close. I think the Chiefs are going to take it. If the Chiefs have yet to play their best football and they're in the Super Bowl, like you said, call it one loss. I can't see them losing. I mean, I can't see them winning by less than 2 touchdowns.
I just think you have. Well, you know what? I know you're right. We won't have a podcast until then, but I don't know. I just think even if you double team Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, there's other guys. They have so much, and the back end of their defense is really underrated. Their corners can straight up cover guys, and that's hard to deal with.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. This has been the first of hopefully many Muck MIRE podcasts. With that, I'm Brandon Furey with Mr. Keith Glock. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next Monday. That was another edition of the Mire's very own Muck MIRE podcast, where you can subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever else you may get your podcasts. We'll see you next week. Thank you.